We are delighted to organize today's webinar with Mr. Adarsh Narahari. A warm welcome to you, Adarsh, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Adarsh is, Adarsh is the Managing Director, Primus Life Spaces Limited, Private Limited, and he is here today to help us understand how new age retirement homes enable healthy active aging. Primus Life Spaces Private Limited was established in 2013, and it's a holistic senior living space. Their goal is to change the lives of seniors and enable better aging through organized senior care. So we will talk shortly to others on how this is done. Uh, about a little bit about us. Most of you already know about us, but for those joining in today, Silver Talkies is a social enterprise that was set up in 2014 to encourage social engagement, healthy aging, and most importantly, highlight talent and passion among older adults. So we do this through various ways. One is that we run an online magazine, which is free to read and by anyone, anywhere in the world. And we have events and activities which are tailor-made for senior citizens. We also run the Silver Talkies Club for people over 55 years, and many of you here are our members today. We are now entirely online, and you can join our events and weekly classes. We have quite a few of them running, and that sort of spans the gamut from health to art to your to music. So you can now join them from anywhere in the world. If you wish to sign up or become a member or know more about us or access special privileges that only members get, if you need to know anything about all this, you can write to us on connect@silvertalkies.com. Bring down the process of aging. How are you doing that?
So, just a bit of a background about why I am doing this. I thought that'll set some things in context. So, it was a promise that I made to my grandmother when she was with us, because we are from South India. We are from Jainagar, and my grandmom had 11 siblings, and all of them had children who are in the US, except for my grandmom, whose son and grandson both are, of course, here in Bangalore. So every time some her sisters and brothers used to come home in Kannada, they used to tell her, "ನಿನಗೇನಮ್ಮ, ನಿನಗೆ ಮಗ ಇದ್ದಾನೆ, ಮೊಮ್ಮಗ ಇದ್ದಾನೆ, ನಮ್ಮ ಮಕ್ಕಳೆಲ್ಲ ಅಮೆರಿಕಾಗೆ ಬಾ ಅಂತ ಕರೀತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ." Means what she was trying to say is that, my children in US are calling me saying there's something special for elder people here. So please come to US and live with us. So that's when one day my grandmom called me and said, "Hey, you always say you want to do something different. Why don't you do something for my sisters?" That's when is the first time, this was 2011, I think, when I Googled old age home America, because I didn't know that, what senior living is and how big a business it is and how it actually changes people's lives. And then I realized that we don't know anything about it in India. So I decided to take a sabbatical of 6 months from work. And I went to US, I went to Japan, I went to Australia, I went to Hong Kong, I went all over the world just staying in senior living communities. So I used to just get food with all the residents there. I used to meet the developer, I used to meet the operator, I used to meet the investor. And most importantly, I stayed with the residents. So I knew why they were there, what they liked, what they didn't like. And kind of all of those learnings is what I came back, and that's how I started Primus. So to answer your question, Reshmi, about how do we bring down aging, right? It seems like a very simple thing, yet there's so much of science behind it. If you look at aging from a very rational and philosophical standpoint, people age very fast and also pass away for two reasons. Number one is loneliness, and number two is falls. I'm sure all of us in our circle have had friends who you heard that they fell down at home and then life was never the same for them. And you would have heard many such examples. What we understand less though is about loneliness, because one is we don't acknowledge loneliness, and two, even people who are lonely, we don't understand the repercussions of what it does on their health. It's very easy to say, they were very active and they were working. Now, yen madadu, there's nobody at home, so I watch TV, or I'm pretty much, me and my spouse are sitting here and we talk to our family every day as well as watch TV. That loneliness leads to so many mental and physical disorders that we don't realize it. Simple thing is like loss of memory. In our own friend circle, if somebody forgets, we say, "Vaisa hai to martok tare," or like "Buddha hai yaar, bhul jate." But in a community, our doctors would see that as, stage one. We'd start to attend to it, give some puzzles, give some games, and that can be arrested right there. Many of you here are doctors, I'm sure. So things like dementia can be arrested in earlier stages. Same thing applies to medical care. Suppose somebody has a bad knee. Our physiotherapist would know about it much before the knee goes bad and they have to go to a fancy hospital and spend lakhs of rupees to get a new knee. So through physiotherapy, through simple games, activities, events, by keeping the cognitive function active and keeping the body active, most of the illnesses can be done away with. They never take shape. That's essentially how we're bringing down aging. It's not, it's just not a jargon. So especially around medical care, it has to be proactive and not reactive. Unfortunately, in India, all of the medical care we know is reactive. After something goes wrong, you go to a doctor and then you're given some very expensive prescription of medicines or some very expensive treatment. We don't understand how to be able to kind of attend to this much before it happens. So we have a quality of life dashboard. We have a dashboard that the physiotherapist works on for each and every person. We categorize them into different risk buckets of high risk, medium risk. People who are at high fall risk, we have special physiotherapy sessions with them. People who have, of course, diabetic, cardiac issues. So we monitor all of this and we are much more proactive than reactive. So yeah, that's kind of, how you reduce the process of aging. You create a community, like you guys have a community that's online. I'm sure coming here on a regular basis, interacting with each other, it goes a long way in making life longer and happier. We may not realize it directly, but it plays a big role.
It's very well explained. One of the things that I wanted to ask you was about this whole aging in place concept. For instance, if you leave aside just the community part of it, when it comes to elderizing your home, that is possible with innovations today. So how does that compare versus, moving to a retirement home? Why would you still stress on on the latter? Could you explain that for us?
So I'll just first explain what is aging in place. Right?
Hmm.
So since I have traveled the world and studied the most successful retirement communities who have run for the longest amount of time with good customer approval, the thing that they all have in common is they offer something called an age in place. Now, what is this age in place? So communities can be divided into 4 categories. You have an active senior living, you have assisted living, you have nursing care, and you have hospice care. Active senior living is pretty much for people like most of us here, where we are physically active and mentally active, but we want convenience, somebody to just take care of our needs. That's called active senior living. Assisted living is for people who have mobility issues, but their health is basically okay. They may need help in walking, in bathing, in other activities of daily living. Nursing care is for people who have some kind of a medical condition due to which they are bedridden. It could be neurological disorders, it could be various other conditions. And hospice is end of life care where they are a terminal patient actually. So a community that caters to this entire lifespan is called a CCRC community or age in place community. So currently in India, real estate and senior living is confused with each other. People look at it from a very binary decision. Oh, I'm getting an apartment or a villa at so many lakh rupees. That is the least important question in the decision making of where a person should retire. Because the real estate is not what is going to keep you safe or happy. It's something that most people already have, and it's going to be irrelevant in the long run in terms of care and convenience. So a community that can cater to this different stages of aging, or a company that can do that, is one that is called CCRC or an age in place. And we are on track to be India's probably first or second company that's doing that. We're already in assisted living and active aging. We're in the process of setting up a nursing care center. So once a person moves into our ecosystem, till their last day, we will take care of them. So the biggest advantage more than anything else is friends and company. So that is the number one advantage, that you make new friends, you have somebody to gossip with. If the men play cards, you have a huge bunch of people to play cards with. If the women like to dance, they have company to dance with. They have just about that, right? Because After spending a certain number of years as a couple, people look for social stimulation beyond each other. So it caters to that requirement primarily. Secondly, as people age, a house cannot keep up with their requirements. I'll just explain to you. Today, there's a husband and wife. They're physically active. They probably don't need much help. Even one of them cooks. But what happens in 10 years' time? What happens in 20 years' time? What happens when one person becomes bedridden for some reason? What happens when one person is no more? At that point in time, to take a decision to move is a lot harder than taking a decision when everything is happy and healthy. So that is the second thing. And the third thing is safety, security, and convenience. If you're an older person living in a villa, it's always going to be a safety threat. And you're at the mercy of your household help. One day the cook will come, one day she will not come, one day the maid will come, not come. Somebody has COVID, somebody doesn't have COVID. How do you create a safe environment to be where services are consistently given? One day the maid will come and say, give me 1 lakh rupees. My child did this. My husband beat me up. I need some hand loan. They'll run away. They'll steal something. So it's very hard to manage a traditional house. And as people age, it's much harder to manage it. Even for this is the second advantage is everything is taken care of, right? You pay some money to somebody like us, house gets clean, doctors are available, companies available, food is served in the central restaurant, you have meals with your friends. So these are pretty much how it's very different. Third and most importantly is how we handle a medical emergency. We have had so many cases where a person was alone at home and something happened medically and they were not attended to, and it led to a very serious event. So we had a gentleman who had vertigo who moved in with us, of course, 4 years back, but he fell down in his house and it took 2 days before somebody could attend to him because his children were in the US, his phone battery had died, and they tried to reach the land. It was like, it's a mess, right? More than that, just having a doctor, ambulance, and a medical tie-up, that golden hour, we will always be able to take them to a to a specialty hospital within that 60 minutes. So I think from an emergency management point of view, it works out very differently when you're part of a community. And our doctors already know, okay, this person is at risk of this. So you will be surprised. We have more than 250 elders. We have had only one death within our community in 7 years of operating. So it's because we know when something before it goes wrong, we already know and we move them to a hospital.
Okay. So that immediacy of care is there constantly.
Immediacy of care and our ability to predict, people who are high risk, we're able to get them admitted to a hospital few days in advance so that the necessary treatment is given there.
So you yourself are not aware of this. How do you think the awareness is in India now? And I'm talking of seniors, I'm talking of people our age who may be looking at it for their parents. So what is the awareness level? Are people still, do people still have that old age home concept where they think, dilapidated and not taken care of? Do people know about senior living?
Excellent question. This is our number one challenge and problem, that most people still think that people like us run an old age home. And the only way that perception changes is for them to either speak to people who live with us or to come and visit it. That's when they realize that we are more than a 3 or 4 star hotel with care and convenience and friends. That is the number one challenge. The number two challenge is the perception that, oh, children and parents don't get along in such communities, right? These are absolutely incorrect. In fact, in our community, more than 90% of the people have funded themselves. The children don't pay for them. Elders are very independent. They're very fierce. I'm sure, like most of you here. So they have paid for their own accommodation or the house, and they in fact have better relationship with their children because the children come and spend the weekends, the grandchildren come over, and they are not inconveniencing each other. So that is a big myth that we face. Time goes by, people are going to choose options that are easy for them and not decisions based on what other people think. Already as a society, we don't care much about what other people think. We care about our own convenience, our own health. And most of our children are very successful. They don't depend on us for the money. They don't need that house that you're leaving behind. They want the elders to be happy. This is what we have seen. And they want them to be comfortable and to spend on themselves. So we are seeing that huge change. And it's one of those things that is going to suddenly catch up like a wave. And COVID is going to be one of the biggest accelerators of that.
Okay, thank you for that. So that brings us to COVID. So tell us, how have you been able to manage senior care through it? And how can not just Primus, but how can senior living homes help, its residents through a crisis like this?
Absolutely. So, in a pandemic kind of a situation, elders are told, hey, you know what? Stay at home, don't get out. Whatever you want, you use some kind of a digital medium or depend on your kids to come and give it to you. And don't let your maid, don't let your cook, don't let anybody. How does that work? In which universe does that work? How is it possible that a person can isolate themselves with another person for months together in a house and have no interaction and still think that it's going to be safe? Right? That's not practically possible. What we did, of course, is we also sealed our community. We moved in all the staff who used to work with us into the community and we closed the gates. This is in the first wave. What then happened is we created a safe bio bubble within which everybody lived a normal life. They used to come down thrice a day to eat in the restaurant. Twice a day we used to have activities. Everything was normal. So that in fact led to the biggest sales surge for us because they were calling their friends saying, "Hey, I just played a game of snooker. Yeah, we all just had Ganesh Chaturthi celebrations." So then people at home were like, "Oh, I can't get out. I can't deal with my maid. I don't know if my maid from a slum is bringing COVID to me. I can't, trust anybody to come in." We used to, of course, also test our entire staff every month. We used to even test our residents once in 2 months. So we created that safety and security within the community. And of course, basic hygiene like sanitization of the vegetables, anybody who comes outside, any things like that, all of those, checking SpO2, checking temperature, those are all very basic. So this is what we did, and that made a huge change to the safety of elders in our community and to huge change to the business of elder care itself.
Do you see this interest? Like you said, you had the biggest sales surge. So do you see this interest being maintained, or what is it? Has the perception of senior living communities changed? You did say it has to some extent. Do you see it
Absolutely.
continuing?
So in my mind, I think COVID is going to be one of those things like what home loans did for the housing market in early 2000. Because of the advent of home loans, a lot of people could afford to buy a house and they bought houses in thousands and thousands. And now, Bangalore is a concrete jungle because of that. Right? So I personally believe that COVID is going to be one of the primary reasons that elders are not going to want to isolate themselves in their own homes. And they're going to seek to be part of a community, to be part of a group of friends. And we ourselves are in the process of developing something like 2000 homes in 4 cities. So we are very bullish about that, and we have unprecedented number of inquiries and interests that we have not had in the last 7 years.
Okay, that's good to know. So do you want to briefly tell us about the different, the different facilities that you have, for seniors?
Of course. So when we say facilities, we all tend to become very real estate about it. We have swimming pool, we have clubhouse, we have cards room, we have restaurant, kitchen. But let me tell you, we have all of those things. Like any luxury community may have, of course, your steam, sauna, massage room, a geriatric friendly gym where equipments are specifically designed for elders, which are not based on weights, but which are based on hydropneumatic equipments, wherein depending on the amount of pressure you put, it gives back the same amount of pressure in one smooth motion. So things like that. But like I said, what we really do is we bring down loneliness and we reduce the chance of somebody falling down through the host of all the things that we're doing: food, concierge, housekeeping, events, games, medical center, and all of these things. The basic hygiene in terms of having various activities and amenities like a luxury apartment complex, of course we have it. But what differentiates us is the intangible factor, because the definition of luxury changes as we age. Having a 10,000 square feet house and one person being in that house with 10 servants doesn't take away from the fact that that person is lonely. You could be in a 500 square feet house which is made of having ceramic tiles, but you have 10 friends with you. I think that person would be a lot more happier.
True. That's very true.
And a servant can never be your friend.
That's true. I mean, you do need that companionship, which is what is provided in a retirement community. So, could you tell us about this whole principle that this is based on? I believe you follow the principle of Ikigai at Primus. So, could you tell us what it means and how is that followed?
So I'm sure that a lot of you have read the book Ikigai. It is a Japanese book based on a philosophy of life. I'll give you the background to how this book Ikigai was written. So there are 6 blue zones in this world. A blue zone is an area where people in that village live above the age of 100. So an entire village or a town, everybody there lives above 100. So there was these researchers who went and stayed in 6 blue zones around the world, and they're like, how the hell is it that in this place everybody's living above the age of 100, but they're dying at different ages around the world? And then they came up with this philosophy of Ikigai, because of which everybody lives above the age of 100 in these 6 blue zones. And of course, one is in Okinawa near Japan. So this, what they realized is primarily there are 3 things that keep people out to live longer or above the age of 100. One is a sense of purpose, 2 is a sense of community, and 3 is a system of living based on exchanges, right? So we were trying to see how we can bring these philosophies into a community in a non-blue zone like Bangalore. So we said we will try to help each person identify their sense of purpose. Okay, for me, learning French now is very important to me, or I want to teach, I want to give back to society. Somebody else wanted to be a classical dancer all their life, but life, they were too busy in life to go and try to do that. Somebody else wanted to teach village children, whatever it may be. So once we identify the sense of purpose, we try to empower the customer to achieve that sense of purpose. And that is one of the things very important for the self-worth of each individual. The second thing is sense of community. So in a sense of community, there's a give and take. So same thing around friends, around having joint experiences, getting meals together, games, activities together. The last one is meaningful exchanges, right? So if, for example, we are doing Shankranti festival, right? It's not about Primus organizing an event manager to come stand there and do it. We have people from the community who take initiatives. Hey, we are going to do a bhajan. No, this group is going to do the puja. This group is going to do the dancing. This group is going to do the decoration. So then there are all these meaningful exchanges and roles and responsibilities. And that's what, is kind of Ikigai. All of this in a setting where there is no stress. Oh, today the maid didn't come. Oh, today the cook didn't come. Who's going to clean my floor? Oh, the dishes are left unattended. Oh, who's going to bring the vegetables? The fruits have gone bad. So as long as the stress of running a traditional house is taken away, and this setting of a sense of purpose, belonging, community is given, that's how, we try to achieve Ikigai.
About the age to move in. So what would you say, what is the age when most people move into your community, and what would be the right age according to you?
So I'll tell you what is the most common complaint that I hear when I go to visit all our residents. Everybody says, I should have come here a few years earlier. Everybody. There's not a single person who says I've come here at the right time. Because, change is very difficult after a certain age. Even youngsters, they're not open to change so easily. So there is a lot of back and forth. There's a lot of process of thinking between the couple or the individual, and then the circle of influence, who may be the children, who may be their friends, and so on. So inevitably, the decision to make the move takes much, much longer than what they would have envisaged. But once the move is made, this is our most common complaint. Oh, if I had come 3 years earlier, I used to play cricket then, now I can't play cricket. Like things like this, is what we hear. In our case, our average age is about 69. Average, we have people from 51, 52 to 95. We have across the spectrum elders. In my opinion, I think the right age it's not about the age. I would say it's the current, it would be the situation under which they would be. I think if people are having a challenge managing the house, basically, right? And both the husband and wife are around, and things are very smooth and easy for them in terms of each other, that would be the best time to make the shift, because then they would be with each other when they make the shift, until such time that one person may or may not be with them. And that will be a lot easier for them to manage that tragedy, since they will have an ecosystem to help them and recoup at that point in time. As well as when one person's health starts to go a little south and there are challenges around the health, before it gets very bad, it's a great time to make the move, because we can slow down the deterioration of health, as well as the other partner will get great support from a lot of people sharing the same experience. Because
Okay.
when one of the couple is going to be bedridden, it takes a huge emotional toll on the other person. They have nobody to share with. But if you're in a community and there are four other men or women going through the same thing, you learn off each other and improve the quality of care along with the team.
Yes, that's very true. That support which is there around in every way, emotional and the real time one. So, one of the perceptions that's there still is that senior living communities are expensive, or you need to have like a good nest egg to, live in one, invest in them. So, what do you have to? Do you want to clear that concept? Tell us how much it costs. Talk about that a bit.
Absolutely. I'll tell you, we as Indians, including me, we are all amazingly good at direct costs. We are great. Oh, petrol costs so many rupees. Diesel costs so many rupees. My one tomato per kg is so much. But we are terrible at calculating indirect cost, right? Everywhere, I'll give you the best example. India sells more diesel cars than petrol cars. And let's take the example of let's say Maruti, I don't know, sorry, let's say Santro, I don't know if it's available in diesel. Let's say a small car of 5 lakh rupees. The same car in diesel will cost 6 lakhs, same car in petrol will cost 5 lakhs. But 80% of India will buy the diesel car. Because why? Oh, diesel is cheaper than petrol. Every month time I go to the fuel station, I don't have to give more money. Nobody's calculating that the difference between petrol and diesel is only 15 rupees. Now, if I pay 1 lakh rupees more upfront, I need to run my car for more than a lakh kilometer before I recover that 1 lakh only. Because we are very OPEX sensitive. We are not very CAPEX sensitive as our own nature. Second, if you look at costs, they have a tendency to spiral out of control before we know it. Like a driver in Bangalore, maybe 5-6 years back was available at 8 or 10,000 rupees a month, right? I don't think today below 15 to 18,000 rupees a month you can find a driver. Same thing applies to a maid. Same thing applies to cook. If a cook came and stayed in your house for 6 hours and charged 3,000 rupees, now she wants 3,000 rupees for half an hour. She will cook whatever the hell she can cook in 30 minutes and get out of there, right? So these costs are going to continue to be very high, and they are unpredictable and unreliable. But whereas in a community like us, we get economies of scale. One maid can clean 3 or 4 houses as opposed to one maid cleaning one house. For us, 3 chefs can cook for 150 people. I don't need one chef for one person. Same way, a pool of few drivers can work for the whole community. So we are always going to be cheaper than an individual house once you really pin down the costs. We are very good in saying, oh, I pay so much for electricity, I pay so much for my maid, I pay so much for this. But once you add, okay, I went out to buy a vegetable, I had to pay some parking fine. I went to a movie, and popcorn cost 300 rupees. So once you start adding these indirect costs, then you realize that we are actually cheaper. For example, if somebody doesn't take our food package, for 2 people to get medical, housekeeping, concierge, events, common area maintenance, it is just about 12,000 rupees a month. And even for 3 meals a day, 3 full meals and 3 half meals, we charge 5,500 per person per month. So if 2 people stayed with us, everything would be taken care of for 25,000 a month. I can challenge most of you that currently you will be spending more directly or indirectly. And as time goes by, this is going to become much, much more expensive as opposed to us, because we will always have economies of scale and we will always be able to enjoy the benefits of being in a community. And more than anything, we'll be reliable. If a maid doesn't come to your house, that day the house doesn't get cleaned. In a community, a maid will 100% come to your house, because if one person is absent, somebody else is going to come and clean the house.
True, that is true. And what about renting? Are there renting options also?
So this rental thing is more we have a lot of people who are in the US who are around 50 or 55 or 45 who are saying, India is my motherland. I want to come back and live there. But, I already have one house in India. I want to buy a retirement community. So when I move back from the US or wherever I am, I will live there. And I would like to rent my house till such time. So, the beautiful thing about retirement communities is, as an investment, it's great as well, because the real estate price is similar to an apartment, but the rental premium is about 30% more. For example, we are opposite to Brigade Meadows on Kanakpura Road. Exactly opposite. Like you cross my gate, you will go to Brigade Meadows. A two-bedroom house in Brigade Meadows rents for around 16 to 17,000 rupees a month. We rent our two-bedroom house at 22 to 24,000 a month. So even if somebody buys and chooses to rent, they'll get a premium. Now, more than a premium, they'll definitely get a customer, because a lot of elders may not have 60, 70, 80 lakhs spare, but they certainly have 30, 40,000 to spare because of pension and various other things. So the demand for rent is very high.
Okay. One of the things that we wanted to ask you is that often seniors say, it's a great concept. We would like to move there. But the thing is that we don't want to see only people of our age. How does one address that? How do you take care of that?
This is like Americans coming and telling, who are Indians originally and they have been living in America for 30 years. They'll come and tell you, I have a lot of white friends, I don't mix with Indians there. But once you go to America, you can be 100% sure that their only friends are Indians. They will not have a single white friend. Right. So I think it's more of a assumption that people will hang out with youngsters. But the fact of the matter is, all of us hang out with people who share similar experiences and similar philosophies as us. Now, it just so happens that most of the people who have faced similar experience may be of our age. I am more likely to hang out with the friends of my age. I don't think I'm going to be able to hang out with some teenagers and say, let's come and play video game, right? It's unlikely. So that is as far as the large majority is concerned. The second thing is, even as a company, what we have started to do now is we have plugged ourselves into larger projects where there are 5 to 10 towers. One of the towers we have converted into elder care, or we have designed it for elder care. So what that does is it provides the best of both worlds. So that tower has only elders, whereas the children, their loved ones, can buy around in the regular tower. Each person gets their space and everybody gets to enjoy the amenities and convenience. So that's something that we are already doing in our projects going forward. So irrespective of if a person wants to hang out with youngsters, that option is always there.
We wanted to check with you. You spoke about the sense of purpose and that whole sense of community, togetherness. How does it impact mentally? Because one of the things the pandemic has done is, there is research on it now of how it has impacted people negatively in terms of mental health across. So how do you ensure that people stay not just mentally active, but also upbeat and happy?
So the unfortunate part of mental health is, till such time it is in a severe stage, most people don't realize that there is a mental health requirement, right? Unfortunately, this is what it is. And at that time, mostly in India at least, people don't seek professional help. It is always pushed under the carpet, saying that no, counseling is a Western thing, or absolutely, I don't need it, I'm perfectly fine. So it's when you say mental health, I think it comes out of loneliness, especially because of this pandemic and corona. So we have seen, yes, a lot of elders who live in their house, they can become difficult on their spouse. They can become difficult on each other. They can become difficult on their children. It is a reaction that all of us don't understand. There's still a lot of study being done around it. I'm no expert, but since I am very active in this ecosystem and I interact with a lot of elders, certainly it has been difficult for elders as well as the children, because both are not able to understand why the other is reacting in a certain fashion. And it is purely because of being cooped up and not having interaction with others than the same people you're interacting with, and not getting that physical exercise and mental stimulation that a normal society would provide when corona was not there. That gossip is so important. Getting that early morning coffee in your favorite joint, going for a walk with your friends, gossiping about somebody is super important for that person's mental health.
So does Primus have a complex near Bangalore? We know you do, but for people who are not aware, if you can explain how far is it from the airport and railway station, where exactly it is, and what are the public transportation facilities and all that. If you can explain a bit about your projects.
So our project is currently, our completed project is located on Kanakpura Road. It's near the Art of Living Ashram, which is in South Bangalore. So that's where our ready to move in completed project is. We are coming out with projects in Sarjapur Road, near the Sarjapur Hosa Road, near Hosa Road, which is kind of close to where Wipro's main corporate office is. We are coming out with a project in Whitefield. Both of these are going to be launched probably in the next 30 to 45 days. And we are in the process of coming out with projects near Devanhalli as well. Other than that, we are going to be launching in Chennai very shortly. Two projects, one on OMR and the other one near Porur, and in Hyderabad and Pune as well. So this is where our projects are. The connection to public transport may not be very, very important, since most of the requirements that a person needs are within our community. So the reason to go out is almost redundant. The only reason to go out is to meet other people, right? But there's no need to go out for activities of daily living or general shopping and things like that. And also in this particular time of Corona, I think going out is not even really an option. But of course, the South Bangalore one is far away from the airport, but it is closer to people's traditional area where they grow up, of South Bangalore, Jayanagar, JP Nagar, Bannerghatta Road, Kormangla, and all of these areas.
Questions on whether people can make a site visit currently, given the situation. So,
We can site visit, absolutely. There will be some protocols for entry and things like that, and the access to the common areas will be restricted, but certainly they can visit and have a look, and our team is there to take care of their safety as well as that of our residents.
Basically about what are your plans for dedicated assisted living facilities, and how does the economics of that work?
So as you may know, assisted living is a facility which is typically rented by the elders, because there is a certain condition that we need to make improve and then send them back either to their own homes or back to an active community. So we are coming up with an assisted living facility which is close to the city center, and it will be on a rental basis. So people could move in for a month, for a few months, depending on case to case basis of what the condition is. The rates will vary. So typically it could be 50,000-60,000 a month and goes up to a lakh, depending on their condition. And that would include everything,
Okay.
Would, whatever, end to end, everything. Yeah.
So what about if somebody, like this whole growing old, aging in place thing, someone may join you as a very active, sprightly person. 5-6 years down the line, that person may need assisted living, and the person is staying with you. It's not a, so in that case also, I mean, you can provide it till end of life.
Yes, exactly. That is why we are developing this, our skill set, to manage up to end of life.
Any senior home with a spiritual outlook, some regular activities with respect to the spiritual and emotional self. Do you want to answer that?
So, the best part of a community is that each one will always find a person that they can understand and who share similar values, right? Spirituality is something that comes from inside. It's a way of life. It's a belief. So when you have 150, 200 people in a place, I'm pretty sure that you will find a few people who share your values, and then you could take your spiritual journey much deeper with such people.
policy for children staying with parents on and off?
The policies, we encourage families as much as possible. So as long as there's one resident who's above the age of 55, we are absolutely okay. Children, grandchildren, anybody else, as long as the primary resident is above 55.
Okay.
Again, additional benefits of living in a community. You know, in the lockdown, it was so difficult for people to travel. We have a lot of elders whose children don't live with us, right? And other than COVID, there were some deaths in hospitals, cardiac arrest, things like that. And we have gone to the extent of even performing the last rites of our residents. Our team has done it. We have gone to the extent of arranging air ambulances to move bodies to different parts of the city, different cities in India, things like that. So we have had cases where there were parents, the child was not had certain special conditions, not a threat to the rest of the community, but the child needed to be taken care of beyond the parents. So there are very unique circumstances where the community takes certain decisions and they go way beyond their role to ensure the safety and well-being of people who live with us.
So is it possible to sell the apartment after both spouses cease to exist? That's what Mr. Sundarajan has asked.
So it is like a real estate purchase. So you own the unit at any point in time, you can sell it for a profit or whatever else. So you can sell it, your spouse can sell it, it can be bequeathed to your children, anything. All it acts, legally speaking, like a traditional real estate apartment.
So both
monthly
rentals and monthly charges, yes.
Our monthly charges without food typically would be around 12,000 rupees a month for a couple. With food, it would be around 25,000 rupees. That's our monthly charges. That includes just about everything. So a person wouldn't have to spend anything more than that normally. Rentals would be around 20 to 30,000 depending on the size of the unit. And on top of that, you will have the service costs of another 20 or 25,000. So around 55,000 is what somebody would pay to rent a unit.
Okay.
Transparent cost plus 15% basis. So every cost is presented to all the residents on an open book basis. We make a margin that is known to everybody. And then within that, there are decisions by the committee either to improve, reduce, so many aspects. But yes, we work on an open book cost plus basis transparently.
When an investor, this is from Mr. Bhatia, when an investor rents his Primus apartment, what is the rate of return?
So typically you would get 30% more rent than a traditional real estate apartment. So if a traditional real estate is giving 3%, I think we'd be able to give 4.5% or 4%, 4.1, 4.2%. Yeah.
Is when people are looking for a retirement home, wherever in India it is, whether they are looking or their children are looking, what are the points they should keep in mind? What is the hallmark of a good retirement living place?
Excellent question. Thank you for whoever asked this question. The first and most important thing is please check the service credentials of that particular company. Are they serving elders? Have they served elders in the past? How many years have they keeping such elders happy? Are the people who are living with them happy? Not happy? Please talk to more than 2-3 people who are living with that person, because you are making this decision to purchase based on service, not based on whether it is 60 lakhs or 80 lakhs or whether your house is 1,000 square feet or 500 square feet. That is the least important thing to know. The most important thing to know is what is the quality of service. Do they have a track record in serving elders? Because that 10-15 lakhs that you save on day one is going to come and be very painful later when the service quality is not up to the mark. I think I can't emphasize enough how much that is important. The second thing is, of course, the basic track record of both delivery and service. Okay, has this company delivered something in the past? Are they going to take my money and not build my house? Right. So I think that would be the second thing. But yeah, this is pretty much about it. And the third thing is, are they somebody who can take care of me through my aging process? Are they in assisted living? Are they in nursing care? Or do they do only active senior living and say, please leave, I can't take care if you become bedridden? So I think these are some of the top 3 questions that would come to my mind.
So thank you very much for being here. Thank you, Adarsh.